Hey, how's it going? I'm just going to be talking about the Etymologicon, which is a book by Mark Forsyth. And this book, as the title is about the etymology. And I don't know if the title is a pun, that the etymology con, because that's the etymology of that word, which means that the connection or the con, the actual con, because the language is so enamored with all of these interesting concepts. So in the book, he goes about explaining the history of all of the words, and as he's going through this, what he's actually doing is telling you the world history from another perspective, and explaining other events that might not be in mainstream media but are part of society and are part of our understanding of this world that we live in. So etymology is the study of words. So in etymology, what you're doing is basically taking the words and breaking them apart and seeing exactly what they mean. So he does a great job at doing this because his name etymologically is the Inkly Fool. So the book is so funny. Like, it's very interesting. It's so witty. It's so fast, and it's seamless. Like, each chapter flows into the next chapter, and it's like it feels like it's so fast. Like, the way you're reading it, it's like a fast read. It's quick, because when I was reading it, I really couldn't stop reading it. Like, I just read it, right, and then I just looked at the first couple of pages, and then I'm like, all right, fine, let me just check this book out. Maybe I'll like get an idea of it, and then I'll read it later. So then I just checked a couple of pages out, and then I literally could not stop reading it. I literally couldn't. Well, basically, maybe it's also because I really love etymology. So etymology is something I really think everyone should get into. And this is why I'm making this, because if you are into etymology, into words, you're into the building blocks of this whole world. The etymology is the noun, or the naming word, the nous. So a nous is the mind. So the mind of everything is the noun of everything. So this noun is what we name things as. So every name is a nous. Every name is a mind. So if you want to expand your mind, expand the nous, expand the nouns, expand the names, expand your words, basically. So the more words you know, the bigger your mind is. So in this book, he's speaking about so many different words and how they came to be in our language. Words, phrases, names, companies, businesses. Like, all right, for example, Starbucks. Starbucks started because of a certain whale hunting family that used to stay in a place called that sailed in a ship called Starbucks. That sailed in a certain ship that was going to an island called Starbucks. Okay, so they at first they wanted to name Starbucks the name of that ship. I think it's Dwapi, yeah, or something. Or another business is Shell. Like, Shell has a logo of a shell. Well, it has, yeah, the brand is a shell brand, because at first they were actually selling seashells at the seashore. So they used to sell shells, and then they ended up going into oil and gas and energy. But that's why it's called Shell, and that's why their logo is a shell. And all of these things to me are very interesting. And it also goes into some of the words that we now use, such as yeah, this one's an interesting one, pandemonium. Pandemonium comes from Paradise Lost, which is John Milton's book, where he's explaining about how the world started, and he's talking about how the devil fell from heaven and came down. So the first thing that the devil wanted to do was to build a roof over his head, and then he built a place that is where all of the demons were housed, and that is called pandemonium. Pandemonium, and that reminds me of that Rick Ross song, though. The Rick Ross song called Pandemonium. Pandemonium, yeah. But then that is what it is. It's actually a demon's house, a demon's dwelling place. But he actually goes further and then speaks about how the Catholic Church ruled the world, and then they got everybody's stuff. Like they got everyone's territory, everyone's real estate. And they came to a place that was called the Panthelion, right? Yeah, Panthelion, which is where pan means every. So theos, or the theos, Panthelion, is where every god is. So the house of every god. So the actual Panthelion has been the Panthelion, which is the house of every god. So the Catholic Church actually means, Catholic means universal. So Catholic Church is the universal church. And that's why they have that huge house to every other god, because it was dedicated to every god, every Greek and Roman god. So the pandemonium started with that. So the devil built a house and put a roof over his head and stuff like that. So you see, when you're looking at etymology, what you're looking at are a wide variety of things, such as if a person says a person ate humble pie. Actually, it's supposed to be a person ate humble pie. So this is a type of meat that was served to, that was afforded by people who didn't have money. So humble pie. So this is a pie that is of the insides of of another animal. So that is that type of pie. And if someone is served a cold shoulder, like he actually no, not served, like if someone says this person gave me a cold shoulder, it actually comes from a time when, if a person came to your house and you didn't like the person, you couldn't just tell them, hey, get away, man, I don't like you to be here, I want you to get out of my house. I don't think people would do that anyhow, but that it comes from that time when, if someone would come to your house, you still have to serve the person. And if you didn't like the person, guess what, you serve them a cold shoulder, and just cold food basically, and that's a cold shoulder. Like, oh, he gave me a cold shoulder. That's where it comes from. So this book, like, it has so much information about so many different things, and the way that it's written is so concise. So like I just love the way that it just flows. And in it you're gonna see some of the different words that we're now using. that if you track the words that we're using, because you remember that the word that we use is the mind. So it shows how our minds have developed. For example, if you can look at our society today, the words that we're now using are unique to us. For example, a person who says that I unfriended my face on Facebook. I unfriended him. This is a concept that is weird even to me today, because, you know, how do you unfriend someone? But then I know how it works, but you have to put it in that context that you're speaking about social media, you're speaking about Mark's algorithm, and you're speaking about it in that context. But now it's taken a life on its own, because now it's part of our psyche. So it's part of our understanding of this world. So this is something like explaining this to Shaka Zulu's dad would be like impossible. Like, how do you unfriend a person? Like, all right, a person lives in another kingdom and you used to be friends and now you've unfriended him. So we used to deal with things in a different way that would show how our minds are evolved at that point. So if you look at certain words such as aristocracy, these words started after the French Revolution. Capitalist, this started after the French Revolution. So my history teacher, awesome teacher, great teacher, funny teacher, he always used to explain that actually the world history starts at the French Revolution. And I didn't get it, because like I've always seen the world history as being like, alright, they tell us that it starts with Neolithic, actually Paleo-Neolithic, like it starts like with like a fish in the water. That's where history should start. But But our modern history actually does start with the French Revolution, and so most of these terms are what we're now experiencing after that. So I guess arguments could be made, and I think that our history starts, I don't know, starts really really far. As far as I can tell, it starts in Africa. So, however you look at it, is where it starts. But our history apparently starts in France. So yeah. So in Western society, for example, another word that started is terrorism. Terrorism is a word that started appearing after the French Revolution. After the French Revolution, this is where we started getting terrorists, like a person who terrorizes for political reasons in that context. And this is where it starts. So if you look at the words, you're actually tracking the development of the mind and all of these things. So how you actually go through the pages of this is interesting, and it has so much information. Like, for example, another etymology that I liked was was a name. The author of the book is called Mark Forsyth, which etymologically means inkly full, right? Mark Forsyth, inkly full, which just shows how witty the book is. And another one is Barack Obama's etymology, which means blessed, handsome, crooked. Blessed, handsome, crooked. Barack, blessed in Swahili. Hussein, handsome, right? And Obama is crooked. So I don't know how you see it. Maybe he was blessed. Maybe he was handsome. Maybe he was crooked. But that's just the etymology of his name. Another one is actually Hitler, which means Hitler is Adolf, is noble, wolf, and Hitler, a person who lives in a hut. So I don't know what that means. Elvis Presley was a dwarf in a garden, a dwarf in a holy garden, I think, or something like that. Yeah, Elvis used to be like my favorite musician when I was growing up. So I really enjoyed. So this book is just filled with so much treasure, and if you do get a chance to read this, like you definitely should. Totally, this book is interesting, and if you want to know more about the world that we live in, you should go through the etymology and look at the words and look at how they actually are explained and how they explain our world in detail. Our world, like if you see anything, like for example, what is this? What is this? So you can only describe that using words, right? So everything is a word. So that's a cup with some yellow crunk juice or something. You know, all of these are just words, and these words are a mind or a concept. So knowing the words of anything will tell you something. But if your word deficient, then it's like you're colorblind. So you can see things, but you can't see the colors. So these words are like colors for your mind. So I just hope that you get a chance to check that out or check something else out. And thank you so much for tuning in and watching this. And I'll see you soon.